What's happening, Organigram traders and investors? It's Rod with Power Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ Stocks, crypto assets, and interviews. Today's Wednesday, April 12th. Happy hump day. Hope you're well. And in this video, going to be discussing Organigram's ticker symbol OGI, their earnings for Q2 2023. They did miss estimates in both EPS and revenue. It was just a slight miss in terms of EPS, but they did have a loss as well for the quarter, wider than expected, which brought the stock down about 12% today. But before we get to it, make sure to smash the like, help support me, and the channel doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell to be notified on any future videos or when I go live. I did add OGI to my long-term MJ portfolio today. I added more to my holdings, so I already had this in my long-term portfolio. It's in my registered account, so my RRSP, my retirement account, but I did add to that position when we were down over 12% today. Very bullish on Organigram. We know that they did get a warning from the NASDAQ about regaining compliance, so that's something that we have looming over our heads, but not out of the question that we potentially see another reverse split, which is very common amongst among MJ companies here in Canada, because they're listed on the NASDAQ, right? So moving on, Organigram Q2 revenue slips 9% sequentially. So just as a quick heads up, I am an owner and shareholder in Organigram, so I do own shares, and I did add today, and I will look to add a few more times as well with these prices at rock bottom prices. So going to continue to add to my position, very bullish on them in the long term, but we'll go through some financial highlights here. So continues the trend of improving adjusted gross margin and fifth consecutive quarter of positive adjusted EBITDA. Financial highlights: net revenue of $39.5 million, up 24% from $31.8 million in the same prior year period. Adjusted gross margin of $13.4 million or 34% compared to $8.3 million or 26% in the same prior year period. Adjusted EBITDA of $5.6 million, fifth consecutive quarter of positive adjusted EBITDA compared to adjusted EBITDA of $1.6 million in the same prior year period as well. They maintained number 3 position among Canadian licensed producers. Organigram held the number 1 position in milled flour, the number 1 position in hash, and number 3 position in gummies. I really like their gummies, actually. They're really good. The prices is on point, no pun intended, but yeah, they're really good. They get the job done, quick onset, and they're fairly cheap as well. Shred, Tropic Thunder, Funk Master, and Narberry milled flour were the top 3 selling SKUs in the country for 6 months ended February 28, 2023. They held number 1 market position in the Maritimes, number 2 in Ontario, number 3 in Quebec. Introduced 18 new SKUs in Q2 2023, shipped 10.7 million of high margin flour to Australia and Israel. And they announced agreements with Green Tank to exclusively access new vape cartridge technology, including the development of a custom all-in-one device that will be proprietary to Organigram. And then Bina Goldberg, the CEO, we are pleased with our results in the quarter. With typical seasonality, our market position remains competitive, supported by our leading brand portfolio, strong international sales, and customer-focused innovation. Just 12 months after adding hash to our portfolio with the acquisition of Lac Supérieur facility, we gained the number 1 position in the hash sector and launched ShredX Rip Strip Hash, the first product of its kind in Canada. So moving on here, the loss, just want to bring up the net loss. So yeah, Q2 2023 net loss was $7.5 million compared to a net loss of $4 million in Q2 of last year. Increased due to the change in fair value of derivative warrant liabilities, which was a gain of $2.4 million during Q2 2023 compared to a gain of $10.6 million in 2022 Q2. So yeah, they go on as well to talk about the price war, and they talk about the competitive landscape specifically with regards to flour. And then if anybody does want to check out the company hosting the conference call, you can get a replay of that, and you can access that webcast. I personally didn't join the call, but I will look to add that to my to-do list, actually, to review that call. But they did miss their EPS and their revenue forecast. That's why the stock was down. They had a wider than expected loss as well. So analysts were forecasting 43.64 million Canadian dollars, because they report in Canadian. This is Canadian. So forecasting revenue of 43.64 million, came in at 39.49 million. So decent miss there. EPS slight miss, negative 0.02 was the forecast, and it came in at negative 0.021. So pretty much in line, but a miss nonetheless. So we had a miss in revenue, miss in EPS, and then, like I said, a wider than expected loss, which is why the stock was down about 12% today, in my opinion. Plus, the whole sector still remains week because of the fact that Tilray missed big on their earnings, and also they reported a $1.2 billion loss. So the whole landscape right now in MJ is still weak at the moment, and then that just added more headwinds, and then obviously missing EPS and the revenue estimates, and then having a wider than expected loss. They did say that they expect to maintain positive adjusted EBITDA throughout 2023, so they gave a little bit of forward-looking guidance there. So that's something that we can look out for. But taking a look at the chart here at the moment, we'll do some technical analysis and what to potentially look out for here in the days, weeks, months ahead. If we take a look at the weekly time frame, we do have a lack of resistance on the weekly time frame, all the way up here to about $1.03. And as we know, we need to get back over that $1 threshold for 10 consecutive business days to regain compliance with the NASDAQ. So if we take a look at the weekly time frame here, it is showing that we could potentially see more downside. So if we take the high to the low and we use our fib tool, you can see here that anything under the 0.32 fib there at 76.2 cents is a weekly bear flag, and we topped out right below it. So, and now we're losing that support there at 59 cents. So right now you take the measured move, you just take the measured move from high to the low, and then you move it out to the 0.32 fib, and it says that we could be targeting roughly 44 cents here on OGI, and that's on the NASDAQ, of course, so US dollars. So it's looking like we could see a flush of even 50 cents from here, and from the current share price, you're looking at more downside of about 25 to 30% from current levels. So the bottom may not be in just yet on OGI. Doesn't mean we have to get there next week or this week, or it could take a month or so before this plays out. But as we know, the sector continues to be bearish, and we can't be confident that a bottom is in until we confirm monthly uptrends across the sector, not just in OGI, but across the sector and all American, Canadian names, retailers, ETFs, and we're dropping to monthly lower lows and 52-week lows here on a lot of our names. And if we take a look at OGI does have support coming up here on the monthly time frame at 45 cents. So again, that lines up well with my bear flag target of about 44 cents. So wouldn't be surprised in the least if we did target around 43, 44 cents. So like I said, I added OGI to my long-term portfolio. I added more shares, and I'm going to be looking to potentially add a few more times as well and lower my cost basis. I think my cost average on OGI is somewhere around $1.20, just over $1. So again, trying to bring that down. And then, like I said, if we get back up to $1, I'll essentially be back to break-even territory. And then from the highs of February 2021, just like most MJ companies, we're now down over 90%. So like I said, watch for 50 cents psychological. And then after that, 43 cents is where we can potentially head after that. But like I said, in terms of the monthly time frame, we're still multiple months away. We still have to start the monthly bounce, form a high, then a higher low and a higher high to give us a monthly uptrend to be confident that the bottom is in. And in my opinion, we're not going to see monthly uptrends confirm across the sector until we get some sort of catalyst. We know Germany, the health minister said that recreational MJ use will be legal in Germany by the end of 2023. And they did a watered down plan to legalize MJ after talks with Brussels. And I'm going to be doing a video on this later on today, but we could see that sparked the industry. We could see descheduling or rescheduling in the US for, the US legalization rollout. We could see legalization of medical in the US. We could see, easing of taxation here in Canada. I think that's another, aspect and catalyst that would shake us out of this bear market, right? We need something like that that's going to really propel us out of this bear market, and we need a sector-wide catalyst, a big catalyst, not just something. A lot of people are asking, how come the NBA allowing players to promote, consume, and invest in MJ companies didn't move the needle? Well, that's not a big enough news piece, in my opinion, to knock us out of this bear market. And then OGI still well below the 10-week moving average. We are set to potentially see a bull cross of the MACD, with the stochastic already having crossed bullish, but we're still bearish on 2 of our 3 macro indicators there. We're well below the 50-week moving average. That is at 95 cents though. So again, $1, we got a lot of runway here until about $1 USD on OGI. In terms of the daily time frame, we do have the 200-day moving average there at 92 cents as well. So that's going to be very strong resistance. But once we get over $1, we could easily see a move back up to around $1.25 with some runway there as well. And then the weekly 100 weekly moving average there at 154. But we could be gearing up for a golden cross here with the 50 below the 200-day moving average. Last time that happened, price was at roughly $2. And then we went all the way up to about $6. Not sure why this isn't interactive here. Let's try that again. Yeah, not sure why it's not inspect. Usually there we go. So yeah, price was at, whenever it crossed, price was at around $1.80, and then we ran all the way up to about almost 650. Then we had the golden cross, then we had a death cross. Price was at roughly 250 and then dropped all the way down to 60 cents. So now we're gearing up for a potential golden cross once again, and we're beaten down way more than we were the previous time. So this could probably take several weeks or a few months for this to play out. And like I said, we still need to confirm a monthly uptrend with a higher low and higher high. So we've got many months, at least 3 months in my opinion, worth of work to do before we can be confident. Maybe even longer than that, right? Might be 6 months or more. So patience is key right now with the MJ industry, and I continue to dollar cost average just like I did with a lot of other investments in the past, right? Crypto is one of them. Lots of crypto is down, 90+% in 2019. And then from there, you went on to see, Bitcoin go from 3,000 all the way up to $70,000, right? So just whenever you think things are never going to turn around, it's generally the time where, you start to see when everybody's on one side of the fence, that's when you start to see the scales tip, right? So I'm just preparing for the inevitable legalization of Germany, the rest of the EU. And then as we know, the US is never first, but they're never last. We know Mexico is going to be a huge market. We have the NAFTA, the North American Trade Agreement as well. And I do not think that Canada, Mexico, and the EU are, just going to run ahead of the US and the US just sit back and do nothing, right? So I think it's just a matter of time before we see the US pull the trigger on some sort of reform, whether it be descheduling, rescheduling, legalization of medical. That all remains to be seen. We know that New Jersey's introducing legislation to remove 280E tax code at the state level. So just a little bit of a tip of what's to come. So going to it there, thanks again for joining us on The Pursuit of Wealth. It's Rod with Powell Group. Let me know in the comments below what you think of these earnings with OGI. Were you adding? Are you looking to add to your long-term position? Are you bullish on OGI long-term? I think the company's going to do extremely well, very bullish long-term. And like I said, continuing to dollar cost average, but I do think that we could see 50 cents to 43 cents here before we completely call a bottom. All right, going into it there. Have a great night. We'll see you on the next video.